together for CEO.
As you have been told, we are here to discuss a very specific agenda on the new urban agenda. And mine is just to welcome you. Of course, you have a number of speakers who will give us the details of our discussion. But just to appreciate you and tell you that as CARA, we are very keen on this issue of new urban agenda. I'm sure most of us are aware that about 2 years ago, in 2015, the world converged to come up with what we are calling the Sustainable Development Goals. And they're 17 in number. And these are just what we could call mechanisms or ideas to enable the world move to the next level in terms of development. Out of the 17 goals, of course, we support all of them, but we are particularly keen on goal number 11, which talks about sustainable cities and communities. Because as CARA, we talk about access to service delivery, and we are very alive to the fact that if we are able to have our service delivery fixed, then we are able to have sustainable cities and communities. And that's why we are working with a number of people, a number of partners, to ensure that we actively promote the goal of sustainable cities and communities. And in order to do that, the new urban agenda came on board, and we have been looking at what is it that we can do as contributors in this country to ensure that the new urban agenda is effectively implemented and to ensure that the public and various stakeholders understand that they have a role to play, they have a contribution to make in this process. It is not a government idea, it is not a government problem, it is our problem. Because when we have cities that are working, when we have services that are working, then we are all happy and we are all at a place where we can live a dignified life. So ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to work with Safaricom, and my chairman of course will provide more information. But I would really like to appreciate Safaricom particularly because among the private sector players, they have strongly come out to support the SDGs. They have strongly stuck their neck out to say that they are going to do whatever it takes to ensure that the SDGs are properly supported and implemented, especially within our context as Kenya. And that is the reason why as CARA we saw the need to align ourselves to Safaricom and be part of the process and contribute to this particular agenda. So other private sector, people from the government, people from the civil society, the media, the academia, we all must be able to find our space in this SDG agenda, and we all must be able to contribute to make sure that it is successful. So as CARA will continue doing our bit, we'll continue engaging the public, our members, and forging partnerships and relationships just to ensure that this particular agenda is driven in an effective way. So without saying much, ladies and gentlemen, I want to stop at that. But before I stop, let me just recognize a few of the CARA Governing Council members who have joined us this morning. And I start with our chairman, Mr. Richard Nyaga. Mr. Nyaga is the chairman of CARA, and we are grateful that he's been able to join us here. We also have Mr. Alfred Osur. Mr. Osur is the secretary of the Governing Council. Yeah, Mr. Kanake is the CARA treasurer. And of course, we are always happy at the support they provide to us, even as the secretariat, in managing some of these activities. So without taking much time, ladies and gentlemen, let me stop at that and welcome the CARA chairman.
I want to thank also our sponsors. CEO Eniro Chieng has mentioned them, Safaricom. They have been very, very supportive on a number of public causes in this country. And I think they are a very positive, good example of corporates who espouse and meet their corporate responsibilities to the people of Kenya and to the nation. We would hope, of course, other corporates emulate the example Safaricom. We have been working with them for a number of years now, and we think that our nation, our people, they deserve the support from all these corporates because, you know, they make their money from all of us. They should support the causes which advance our nation. Today we have a number of organizations represented here by their speakers, and I will recognize them. One is, of course, the ministry. This has got a very long name. Is the Ministry of Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, and Urban Development. That's the name of the ministry. And we have today the Department of Urban Development here, represented by Mrs. Jane Mwangi, who is going to be speaking this morning. She is in the State Department of Housing. Okay, those are the most relevant people to us today. We also have UN Habitat. You know, UN Habitat is a UN agency which is based in Nairobi, and they are here with us. Mr. Linus Siyenyi is here, and he will be talking to us later on. The UN Habitat is a very important agency, and based in Kenya. They do a lot of work for us, and they will be, of course, partnering with the Kenyans, the Kenyan government, in advancing some of the goals we will be discussing today. The theme of our discussion this morning is the urban development, and it derives from the 17 UN development goals enunciated 2015 by the UN General Assembly, which had big declarations, 17 of them, these goals, to make the world a better place for us and for future generations. The one we are concerned with this morning is I think, goal number 11. Goal number 11, which you have. And it requires that authorities, governments, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. That's what we are discussing today. So I won't take too much of your time because our speakers will be actually delving into the nitty-gritty of all these issues. But I just want to mention that in the developing countries, in Kenya, for instance, most of the people live in rural areas. This is contrary to the practice in developed countries where maybe majority of the people live in urban centers. Maybe 85% to be almost exact. Whereas here, for instance, in Kenya, we have about 25% of people living in urban centers. As land becomes scarce and the population rises, I'm told we are now 47 million. At the independence, we are 8.5 million. So you can imagine another 50 years, we will be about 200 million. There will be no land for people to settle. So most of the people will have to live in urban centers. And therefore, it's very, very important to have programs, urban centers, which make them livable, safe, and sustainable. And that's why we are here today. And I think that from the Kara perspective, we are very determined to work with all the authorities, with the government, with the agencies, to make sure we have livable cities, we have accommodative urban centers, we have clean urban centers, we have the facilities which cater to that, because we know most of us will be living, particularly the younger people, they will be living in urban centers. They are born here. People of my generation, we are new to the city. We are not born here. So I was born in the rural areas, so I have roots in the rural areas. My children know very little about the rural areas, and I'm sure quite a number of people, I see the faces here, they are all born here. So it's going to be very, very important for us to make these cities very livable, sustainable, services available, and all these other things, because that is the population which will keep on increasing. Beyond that agenda, we need to ensure that the authorities, the government, both at the national county level, because these urban centers are growing also in the counties, that there is concerted effort to improve the lives of the people in those areas. And we will be very happy as KARA to partner with the government, with the county authorities, to ensure that there is a smooth flow of services. We understand that the UN Habitat is currently developing a country program to implement the urban agenda, not only for Kenya, but for other countries, particularly in Africa. And we will be very happy as KARA to be collaborating with the UN Habitat to advance that agenda and to make sure that is successfully implemented. I know we have some media practitioners. I thank them for coming. You are welcome here. But I think we also call upon you to make sure that you continue to educate people about the challenges we face in transforming our society from rural populations to urban populations, making sure that everybody has a very, very comfortable life. With those few remarks, maybe I should pause, but let me perhaps mention that this is challenging time for us Kenyans. Politically, for instance, you know very well, we have had an election last month, and we're having another election. A bit smaller, but nevertheless very important. Next month, I just want to commend everybody as KARA for very peaceful electoral process. So thank you very much, everybody, and welcome again.